The story of Wesley Allan Dodd is one of the most gruesome and disturbing in American criminology. A man who committed the most atrocious acts against the most vulnerable members of society, children. His case revealed serious flaws in the judicial and police system, while generating ethical debates about the death penalty and how society addresses sex crimes. Wesley Dodd showed no remorse for his actions and stated before the court, "If you release me, I will do it again. Killing is the only thing that makes me feel alive." But how did this man become one of the most feared predators in the United States? Today we explore his story, not only to understand it, but to prevent something similar from happening again. A seemingly normal beginning. Wesley Allan Dodd was born on July 3, 1961, in Richland, Washington. He was the oldest of 3 siblings and grew up in a comfortable middle-class family, without financial hardship or episodes of physical or sexual abuse. From the outside, the Dodd's life seemed peaceful. However, Wesley always felt that something was missing. As he himself recounted years later, the emotional coldness of his parents deeply marked his childhood. He never received words of affection or demonstrations of love, which made him a withdrawn child with difficulties connecting with others. At school, Dodd stood out as a bright, methodical and organized student. But his classmates saw him very differently. A lonely, quiet and distant boy who often behaved strangely. Some described him as someone who seemed completely disconnected from reality. As he grew older, warning signs began to emerge. At the age of 10, Dodd began to exhibit disturbing behaviors, such as riding his bike naked around the neighborhood or exposing himself through the windows of his house. Although his neighbors considered him just a strange child, this behavior indicated a psychological imbalance that would go unnoticed until it was too late. The progression of abuse. Dodd's adolescence was marked by a darker turn. At the age of 13, he began to experience an uncontrollable sexual desire towards children. He would watch babies being changed and become aroused by it. It was at this time that he committed his first sexual abuse, and he did it with the closest members of his family, his little cousins. When he was not discovered, he felt safer and expanded his reach. He offered himself as a babysitter to take care of his neighbors' children, using this facade to perpetrate abuse. As time went by, his sexual fantasies intensified and became more sadistic. Wesley Dodd had begun a dangerous escalation that would end in tragedy. At 17, Dodd found new ways to be close to his victims. He joined the Boy Scouts of America as a troop leader, which allowed him to gain the trust of parents and be surrounded by children in an environment of camaraderie and safety. At the same time, he developed a macabre routine in children's movie theaters. Dodd would sit in a strategic seat and wait for a child to get up to go to the bathroom. He would follow them silently, sexually assault them, and then disappear before anyone could suspect anything. The most terrifying thing was his method. He did not resort to brute force or violence. He relied on his harmless appearance and used candy, toys, and money to manipulate the children, who, because of their age, did not fully understand what was happening. The failures of the justice system. Throughout his life, Wesley Dodd was arrested on several occasions, but the authorities constantly failed to stop him. In 1979, he attempted to kidnap 2 girls to rape them. Although he was arrested, he was released after a few hours. In another incident, Dodd offered $50 to 2 children to go with him to a motel. He even openly confessed to the police that he wanted to abuse them. However, the authorities considered it a minor case and released him. These errors not only allowed Dodd to continue attacking, but also gave him a sense of impunity. He knew he could get away with it again and again. In his diaries, he wrote that he needed more and more stimulation to satisfy his dark desires, and that soon, abuse would no longer be enough. The beginning of his career as a murderer. In 1989, Wesley Dodd decided to take the next step: murder. He moved to Vancouver, Washington, and began frequenting David Douglas Park, a place full of children playing unsupervised. He spent weeks studying the park, analyzing the movements of families and looking for the perfect moment to attack. On September 4th, 1989, Dodd committed his first double murder. He tricked Cole and William Neer, 2 brothers aged 11 and 10, into following him to a secluded area of the park. There, he sexually abused them before strangling them. He hid their bodies in the park, where they were discovered the next day. This crime shocked the Vancouver community. The authorities, who until then had ignored the signs, finally began to take seriously the threat posed by Wesley Dodd. However, by this point, the killer was already planning his next attack. The second crime, Lee Iseli. On October 29, 1989, Dodd kidnapped Lee Iseli, a 4-year-old boy, from a school playground. He took him to his apartment, where he held him captive all night. Dodd repeatedly abused the little boy while writing down every detail in his diary. The next morning, he strangled him and hung his body in his bedroom closet. Before disposing of the body, he took several photographs of the child, which would later be used as evidence in his trial. He eventually dumped the body near Vancouver Lake, where it was found days later by authorities. This crime marked a point of no return for Dodd. In his mind, there were no longer any limits to his actions. The capture, trial, and execution of Wesley Dodd, the failed attempt, the beginning of the end. On November 13, 1989, Wesley Dodd made the mistake that would seal his fate. He had spent weeks designing a torture rack in his apartment, with the intention of using it on future victims. When he finished it, he went out hunting again. This time, his target was James Kirk, a 6-year-old boy attending a screening of the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids at the New Liberty Theater in Camas, Washington. Dodd found the boy in the theater bathroom and led him by the hand to his car, using his calm demeanor and harmless appearance to avoid suspicion. However, James began to scream and kick, attracting the attention of those present. William Graves, the boyfriend of the boy's mother, along with other bystanders, chased after Dodd as he tried to escape in his car. But luck was not on his side. His vehicle broke down a few meters from the scene. Graves caught up with him, physically subdued him, and took him back to the theater, where he handed him over to the police. The confession. The coldness of a predator. When Wesley Dodd was taken to the police station, he initially denied everything. But little by little, he revealed details that left the detectives completely horrified. Showing no remorse, he confessed to murdering Cole and William Neer, as well as little Lee Iseli. He explained how he had planned each of the crimes with precision and spoke of his intentions to continue killing. In his statement, he said, "If you don't stop me, I'll do it again. Killing children is the only thing that gives me meaning in life." When Portland police searched his apartment, they found evidence that confirmed Dodd's confessions. Explicit photographs of Lee Iseli taken after his death. The boy's underwear, carefully kept as a trophy. A torture rack built with wooden planks, designed to subdue his victims. Several diaries in which Dodd detailed each of his crimes, titling them Incident 1, Incident 2, and so on. In the diaries, he also wrote about his fantasies of torturing, killing, and cannibalizing children. In one disturbing passage, he expressed his desire to keep a victim alive as long as possible, while experimenting on his body. Dodd not only accepted his crimes, but described them with coldness and even a certain pride. For investigators, it was clear that they were dealing with an unprecedented predator, someone incapable of rehabilitation who had to be neutralized forever. The trial, the most awaited sentence. Wesley Dodd's trial began in 1990 and was one of the most closely followed cases in the United States. The details of his crimes were so atrocious that even the jurors asked to interrupt the sessions on several occasions, unable to bear the reading of the defendant's diaries. When asked what he would do if he managed to escape from prison, Dodd replied without hesitation, "I would kill the guards and return to the streets to continue killing children. It's the only thing I want to do." The court found him guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted kidnapping, and multiple counts of child sexual abuse. In his sentencing, the judge stated that Wesley Dodd was the worst of the worst and that he represented an absolute danger to society. On July 15, 1990, he was sentenced to death. An unexpected gesture. When you meet a stranger. While awaiting his execution, Dodd surprised the public by writing a document titled When You Meet a Stranger, a 9-page pamphlet in which he explained how children could protect themselves from sexual predators. His advice included, do not talk to strangers under any circumstances. Scream and draw attention if someone tries to take them away. Never accept candy, toys, or money from strangers. The pamphlet was published in a local newspaper and quickly became a resource used by many families and schools. While some considered it an attempt at redemption, others saw it as a narcissistic act to remain the center of attention. The execution, an end to terror. On January 5, 1993, Wesley Dodd was hanged at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington. At 12 minutes past midnight, the executioner activated the trap door, and Dodd died almost instantly. He was 31 years old. In his last words, he said, "I found hope in Jesus Christ. If you are struggling with your demons, seek the Lord. He will give you peace." Outside the prison, crowds gathered to celebrate his execution, while a smaller group demonstrated against the death penalty. A dark legacy. The case of Wesley Dodd left an indelible mark on the United States. His crimes exposed the failures of the justice system and the ease with which sexual predators could operate without consequences. Following his capture, stricter measures were implemented to protect children, such as the use of sex offender registries and child self-care education programs. However, his story also reminds us of the importance of being alert to warning signs and acting decisively on any suspicion. Dodd was not born a monster. He became one due to a combination of factors that society ignored for too long. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe and share it on your social networks so that more people know about this case and learn how to protect the most vulnerable. Remember to activate the bell to receive notifications of our upcoming videos.